If Harris is the nominee, it's still going to be a very tight race.
Look, this is going to be a close race no matter what, and this is what you have to look at in the polling. It's very early, and this is all hypothetical so far, but keep in mind that Harris is running a little bit better than Joe Biden, at least preliminarily. There was a poll out that we did about a month ago that had her up 3 points over Donald Trump. A poll that came out, though, in the wake of that assassination attempt had it a dead tie, 44-44.
There does seem to be a wave of new energy for the Democratic Party now that Kamala Harris has risen to essentially become the presidential nominee. There's been so much energy, in fact, that the Harris campaign has raised a record amount of money. More on that in a second. And again, does the money necessarily translate into polling? Well, that's not clear yet. But let's start by talking about the fundraising. The Harris campaign has already raised $100 million. That's the largest one-day haul in presidential history. The 100 million haul came from more than 1.1 million unique donors, including 62% first-time donors, according to the campaign. And this is from Melissa Quinn at CBS News. A super PAC backing the Harris run, Future Forward, has also raised $150 million since she announced her candidacy on Sunday. 58,000 people have also signed up to volunteer for the Harris campaign. So do those numbers actually predict how well she's going to do against Trump? Well, across recent polls, Harris still trails Donald Trump by 3 percentage points nationally, 46% to 49%, according to the New York Times polling average. Some more recent polls look even worse for Kamala Harris. In a Harris X Forbes poll conducted between July 19th and 21st, 2024, Donald Trump led Harris among registered voters 50% to 41%. Plus, Harris's popularity ratings are not great, with 51.4% disapproving and 38.3% approval, according to the 538 survey. Trump has a higher disapproval rating at 53%, but 39% of Americans approve of him. However, keep in mind that most of the polls we have now are likely to change as the news from the weekend starts to settle in. And there is a recent poll that just came out from Reuters Ipsos that has Kamala Harris beating Donald Trump 44% to 42%, but that 2% difference is within the margin of error. Cenk, what do you make of it?
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
I have a clear opinion on this one, which is that don't worry about the polling right now because it's so up in the air. I mean, my God, we have had so much news recently. It hasn't settled down at all. So that's why you're seeing this variability in the polls, and you'll see it for at least another week. But there are other reasons why the current polling is, I'm not looking at it much at all. So I see one, as David just showed you, one where, oh, Trump's got a big lead. Oh, another one where she's tied. Oh my God, one where she has a 2-point lead. No. It's none of that, in my opinion, based on experience, is relevant at this point. It becomes relevant in a couple of weeks when things settle in, right? Then you begin to get a sense of the race. And so in the beginning, Kamala Harris is going to start out weaker. Why? Number one, you'd be surprised at how many real Americans don't know anything about politics, don't care about politics, don't like politics. And hence, you'd be shocked at how many people don't even know Kamala Harris. So that name recognition, but now that she's a Democratic nominee and everybody, a lot more people have heard of her, right? And actually heard her speak instead of being characterized in a certain way by Fox News, et cetera, her numbers are going to go up. And the only things that they did hear about Kamala Harris is some of those awkward interviews that she did, whether it's the right wing or justifiably Daily Show and others going, what is this, right? So those are the snippets that some people have seen. And then finally, the one thing you heard she was in charge of was the border, and the border's a mess. So all of the things about Kamala Harris have been negative so far, but people don't know any of the positives. Like I just mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, that she got $18 billion back from the bankers when she was Attorney General in California. Did they know that? She was tough on crime, which hurt her in 2020, but in 2024, in the Democratic primary it hurt her. But in 2024, that's gonna be a big asset, right? And she was tough on the drug companies. Again, there's both sides to both of these because she also takes huge money from these folks and sometimes lets them off the hook. But that's all going to be adjudicated. But so far, very few people in America, real voters, not people that are enmeshed in politics and do politics for a living, right? Barely know any of the positives of Kamala Harris. So my guess is that, and then I'll add one more thing, David. So that's all about the uncertainty. But what do I think is going to happen going forward? Number one, they're going to get to know Kamala Harris. That's going to increase her numbers a little bit in and of itself. Number two, they're going to get to hear for the first time some of the positives of Kamala Harris. That's going to increase the numbers. But the two big ones are, when they see her on the campaign trail for a couple of weeks, they're going to see someone dramatically younger than the politicians they normally see on TV. And remember, it's not just Biden and Trump. Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they're all ancient. So when they see a non-dinosaur who's the leader of one of the major parties, I think that that is going to be a difference maker. And you might say, hey, that's not fair, it shouldn't, that's not policy. And you'd be right about that, but nevertheless, these things definitely affect elections. And so that's gonna be huge. And then finally, the biggest one, in my opinion, has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. 2 weeks from now, people are going to remember that Donald Trump is still Donald Trump. So he had the halo around the assassination attempt and he looked heroic on that day and he got a big bump. I totally get it, that's normal politics, but it's not gonna last because the guy's a maniac. So he's back to, they were trying to control him, his campaign manager, very tightly controlled convention where they're like, oh, after the assassination attempt, he's a new man. He's totally sane and very reasonable and very kind behind the scenes. And he's already right back at it. The Democrats, they stole that crazy witch Pelosi, Kamala Harris is back, blah, 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 blah. And 2 weeks from now, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's schmuck. And so and by the way, at his height, he's in the low 40s. I told you, the minute you get rid of Biden, you become favorites. So I would be very surprised if she didn't take the lead. Holding the lead's a different matter. That's the next 4 months. So nothing is anywhere near guaranteed in either direction. But I think Kamala Harris is very likely to take the lead.
I'm with you, and I think that's also then the connection between the money she's raised in polling, because she's essentially, as you point out, she's a blank canvas for a lot of the American people. And even if Americans are not able to get much more than a 15-second soundbite occasional in the evening news, and it's only the diehards that are sort of paying attention to these speeches, there's still an opportunity now for the Harris campaign to dump some of this $150, $200 million into advertising that gets to people, that shows Kamala Harris a little bit more in depth and paints the picture of who she is. And that's also, a challenge for Republicans to try to paint the negative picture and use their advertising to diminish her. It does seem like Republicans are a little bit afraid of Kamala Harris. I mean, Donald Trump has now floated the idea of dodging the next presidential debate in September. He accused ABC News, which is the host, of covering up for Joe Biden, and wrote, ABC, the home of George Slopadopoulos, is not worthy of holding a debate of which I hope there will be many. And then in addition to, and that was sort of backpedaled by Lara Trump, who then said, no, he's gonna participate. But in addition to sort of being afraid of Kamala Harris, there's the effort, of course, now to dog whistle things in terms of racism. And we talked about the idea of trying to paint this picture of Kamala Harris. Well, the Republicans are trying to paint the picture of her being some sort of DEI sort of candidate who's not qualified. Here's Republican Congressman Tim Burchett, watch.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president. 100%. She was a DEI hire. Her record is abysmal at best.
No record, mediocrity. Well, that's a pretty low bar for Democrats, in my view, Cenk, to get past, and it's not going to take a ton of advertising for them to do that, I think.
Yeah, we talked about their charges of DEI yesterday. I'll just quickly say this. I think it's going to backfire. You got a legitimate critique of, hey, picking based on demographics for your vice president, which, remember, Barack Obama did that. He picked an old white man, Joe Biden, to reassure American voters, and nobody screamed DEI or affirmative action or anything like that. And he was definitely picked based on demographics. So I get the critique of demographics, but the way they're saying it makes them look racist. Because even if you don't think so, if you're a minority out there or you're a woman out there and you hear the only reason she was picked was DEI, that makes you mad. Like, no, wait a minute, we earned what we had. So don't tell me that everything I got was because of DEI. So I think it's a very poor strategy for the Republicans and will backfire, but we'll see if I'm right. Now, look, here's another thing that is unfortunate. Donald Trump is funny. Slopodopoulos is one of the funnier things I've ever seen a politician say. And I'm sorry, and I wish he wasn't a politician and he was just an insult comic, but Slopodopoulos is hilarious. Okay, I know I'm a child, but so is he, and it does work. People like you if you're lighthearted, etc. But that's not the relevant part. The relevant part is, oh, now all of a sudden you're afraid of a debate, Donald Trump, because just a minute ago he was saying, "Come on, Joe Biden, let's do it again." I'm so good at debating. Kamala Harris gets in the contest. He's like, whoa, I didn't say debate. I didn't say debate with you. Okay, it's not you, it's not you. I'm worried about Slopodopoulos. Sure you are. Well, why'd you agree to Slopodopoulos earlier when it was Joe Biden who we were gonna debate? And now here's another great mystery about Kamala Harris that we're gonna find out soon enough. So in the 2020 primaries, she was terrific in the first debate and won it. She won that first debate out of all of those like 280 candidates back in the day. And remember, in the first debate, they had like, I don't know, 20 or something, 10, 50, I don't remember how many it was. It's a gigantic number. And Kamala Harris, I thought, and remember, I wanted Bernie to win, I didn't want Kamala Harris to win, but we were objective and fair at all times. We came out of the debate and I was like, Kamala Harris definitely won it. Out of all those people, and she roasted Joe Biden, and Biden held that grudge forever, right? If that Kamala Harris shows up to the debates, nighty-night, Donnie, okay? But after the first debate, Kamala Harris politically jumped off a cliff, and we never heard from her again. She was terrible in other debates, and she meandered and then just lost and got out before the primaries. So which Kamala Harris is gonna show up, I don't know. But if the one from the first debate shows up, Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
I agree 100%, and that makes the stakes of the September debate even more intriguing.
And by the way, she was a prosecutor, and he is a criminal, so it's kind of a perfect little cross-examination setup. And she's now already used a similar line on the campaign trail, which is a good line. But the last part of it is, if you remember, there's one other factor with Kamala Harris. The other reason we were excited about her when she was a senator and what we gave her praise for was in the hearings, she would pick apart the corporate executives testifying. She was really good at that. Again, I don't know which one is gonna show up, but if that Kamala Harris shows up, then it won't take long for me to say that this race at that point, if that happens, then the race would be over, because Donald Trump does not have the intellectual firepower to match that. But let's see who Kamala Harris is these days. And I have no idea why she took like a 4 or 5 year hiatus from like being competent. And so it's like, don't get overconfident. I don't know what happened there, and I don't know if that'll come back up. But if it doesn't, and it's the old Kamala Harris, yeah, like I said, Trump's in a world of trouble, and Democrats are in, just infinitely better shape than when Biden was the candidate. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.